Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Today's guest is Judy Henderson, a true warrior of justice. After surviving 36 years in prison for a crime she didn't commit, she walked out not just free, but on fire, and we're going to hear all about it today. This is what's so special. Judy turned her pain into power. She fought for women's rights behind bars, and now she uses her voice to drive real change. She, my friends, is living proof that even in the darkest places, badassery finds a way. Judy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited about this. I love the title.
Isn't it great? Isn't it great? We first started chatting a couple months ago, and
Mhm.
my jaw kind of dropped when she told me her story because honestly, it sounded like a movie as opposed to real life. So I'm going to open the show as I often do with this question to my guest. What makes you badass?
Boy, where do I start? Well, what makes me a badass is I survived 36 years in a very dark, dungeony, angry, bitter, horrible world that very few people get to experience in this world out here. And I did more time in that world than I did in this world out here. So, and I was a middle class mother of two children, working mother that I've worked ever since I was 16 years old, never had any run-ins with the law, or none of my family members had. So this was a very foreign country to me, and even the language was different, the mannerisms, the laws, the rules. And you have to figure out how to navigate it. And I was such a badass, I figured that out. And before I left, before I was returned to this world by our governor of Missouri, um, my name on the yard, which I did not give myself and was unaware until a caseworker told me, was the governor.
Wow. Okay. There's obviously so many different ways that we can go with this line of questioning, but before we jump into really divesting your story, would you mind giving us a high-level overview to explain how you ended up in state prison, single mom of two kids, never done anything wrong? And this is where you landed? What happened?
Okay, I was a battered woman for 12 years, divorced my husband. I'm going to give you a short time frame just so you can see how quickly good things can turn bad. And so that was in June. I ended up in a psychiatric ward in September, October for attempted suicide, after he would not leave me alone. I was told to move down where my parents and family live, which was in another town. I did that. I lived with them a couple of months, got my own home for me and the children. And in February, I purchased my own business, which was very thriving, and I do great in business. It's where when I get into trouble, it's where I get into relationships. But actually, I hadn't been in that many because the gentleman that I married was the first guy I ever dated at the age of 18 because my parents were very strict and I'm the oldest of eight kids, so I was the example. And so my next boyfriend was the one that committed the murder, and I went to prison and he was acquitted. But to get to that point, I was at telling you about how well I am in business. It just comes natural. My mother was an entrepreneur and she had her own businesses, so I think it just came naturally from watching her. And then I met my co-defendant through some other friends while we were at dinner. He came up to the table and we started dating. That was in April. Okay, so October, April, February, April. June, he moved into my house. with my two children, unbeknownst to me, didn't ask. He just brought the suitcases. He was there when I came home from my salon one day. And in July, the murder happened. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, it happened so quickly. And I had not had received the therapy that I needed, nor did I stay on the psych meds that they gave me because I just didn't like taking medications. I didn't like taking pills, so I didn't take them. Um, and I didn't notice any red sign or red flags because he had been in the ministry. He wore a three-piece suit. He was very charismatic, very debonair, very educated. He was a real estate broker. So I saw no signs of a dark side to him. He was always very respectful, very gentle, very loving, wasn't a batterer, didn't abuse me in any way until after all of this happened. And he took me to Alaska, away from my family. So that's whenever everything turned just bad in such a short span of time.
Okay, so you're incarcerated.
Mhm.
Where did you find the strength to put
You
one
know,
in front of the other?
well,
Seriously, I'm like, what?
okay, yeah. Well, as you can imagine, I think anybody in that situation would have been very pissed off, very angry, and just like, what the F is happening here? And where's our system? I thought our system worked. Me, my family had never been had any run-ins with the law, no reason to have an attorney, nothing. So we were very naive and very green at this process. Um, but when the murder happened and we were arrested, we had the same attorney representing both of us, which caused a serious constitutional conflict of interest. But my co-defendant was so clever that he wanted the attorney to represent both of us because that allowed him to hear all the strategy, whatever defense witnesses we were going to call that may have affected him. And so while we were meeting with the attorney, he was also meeting on the side with two other criminal attorneys that unbeknownst to me. And when I was convicted, then he fired him and hired the other two attorneys, and he was acquitted of the murder. And I ended up in prison. So I was very angry over the whole process, angry at the system, angry at him, angry just at everything. Plus scared. I was scared. I'd never been in a situation like this where I was incarcerated, and a lot goes along with that. Um, so I ended up with, and I was very close to my children. My daughter was 13, my son was 3 whenever I was taken from them. And my daughter and I, we did everything together. I had her in every dance class you can imagine, gymnastics, all that, girls, brownies. And so and I'm the oldest of 8 kids, so we had a very close-knit, loving family. And because of the love I had for them and mixed with the anger that I had, fueled me to fight my ass off, to beat the system, this huge male system that was big. It was like King Kong, but I kicked King Kong's ass. And I'm sitting here before you today.
We are so happy that you did. But I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners are curious. Did that fire start right from the get-go? Like from the minute you walked in those doors and you heard the proverbial slamming behind you, or did it
Right.
come a
The
little bit?
steel doors clang. No, whenever I first walked in, I was scared to death. Fear was it captured me immediately. But whenever I found out my co-defendant put a contract out on me before he went to trial, yes, that really pissed me off. That started fueling me. And so I had to take care of that situation. But in the middle of doing that, It also set a foundation for general population to see, okay, as nice as I am and as polite as I can be and as much as I smile and I always try to conduct myself like a lady, I will kick your ass if you fuck with me.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. It
But
had to be established
and
in there.
what I'm hearing though, and this is, this is sort of a recurring theme is when we are called, when we are summoned
Hmm.
and we heed that call, watch
Hmm.
out because your necessity to create a safe space around you in a very unsafe space outweighed, it sounds like it outweighed the fear. And in that moment, that's when we step into our courage, right?
Right.
Badassery, regardless of what words you use for it.
Yeah.
So you're a well brought up, well spoken lady who found herself in unimaginable circumstances, but
Correct.
you 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 rose to the occasion, so to speak.
Right. Yes.
Tell us more about that transformation.
Okay. So whenever that happened, um, I also realized that there's two things you can do with anger. You can either get bitter or you can take that anger to get better. And I chose better because everybody was angry in prison. Anger filled that prison, depression, just you name it, everything negative was that prison. So I chose not to let that anger engulf me and just suck me up and give up and give in. I was not going to do that. I was going home to my family one way or the other, no matter how long it took. I was going to figure out the system. I was going to learn the system, and I became a certified paralegal. So I had to get to know the system. I had to get to know politics. I had to get to know how statutes were created. And because I didn't know what it was going to take to get me out of there, but I knew it was the law that put me in there. So I needed to know the law to get me out of there. And the ones that make the laws are the politicians. I had to get politicians on my side. I had to get as many supporters as I possibly could on my side. And this takes time. And when you've lost all of your appeals, then you only have the only alternative is a clemency to the governor. And that's where the politics, that's where the laws, that's where the statutes and all of that come into play. Because you can also work on bills, create bills to have state representatives or senators sponsor them. And I would have some come to the prison and talk to me about geriatric parole because I was starting to get older. As I was aging, I thought, well, if this isn't going to work, if this clemency isn't going to work, because I went through 6 governors and 3 parole boards that was appointed by 3 of these governors all recommended my release because of the circumstances, of the conviction. And not one of those governors adhered to what their board that they appointed told them. And the governor tells you in the letter that they send you, based on the recommendation of the parole board, the governor has denied your clemency. No, that was a lie. They did not recommend my denial. You did that, and your parole board said I should be released. So, and I didn't find that out till some years later. So that really ticked me off. So I was really going to fight harder then.
All right, so but I'm curious because listening to you, it's like, oh, yeah, this was a tough experience, but it was 36 years for God's sakes. This
I
wasn't
know,
months. So where
right?
did you find the strength to wake up the next day and go, okay, I'm still here. I've still got to fight because that's what is so hard for, I suspect, most of us to really wrap our heads around is, sometimes I struggle to get out of bed because I just don't want to deal with, I don't know, the bills, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what you have gone through is so much bigger than that. Where did your strength come from?
My strength come from me being able to find the purpose in what I was going through.
Okay.
I found my purpose. And that purpose was to help those women in there that did not know how to be mothers, that hadn't been taught how to be mothers when they were in the free world. So therefore, they really could not navigate being mothers behind bars. And I was able to mother behind bars, have a very successful daughter to this day, and who finished college summa cum laude and is the executive CEO of an agency that helps mothers and babies. And so we had great communication. So I also started not only battered women's groups for those that had been abused and didn't know they had been abused. I didn't know that battered women syndrome was a word, let alone that it had a definition, that, there was organizations, because back in those days, you didn't talk about it. The police didn't arrest the husband or anything. They just told him to cool off, if they even told him that. A lot of them wouldn't even come to the house if the call was made. So I didn't only do that, but I also helped pass a legislative bill that gave women who were trying to defend themselves against their abuser a defense when they were charged with assault or when they were charged with murder, for killing their abuser. They didn't have a defense. So we had the first legislative hearings in the history of Missouri in front of senators and state reps that came actually into the prison to hear our stories. And I helped a lot of these women write them because they were very difficult, painful, heart-wrenching stories these women had to talk about. And then they passed the battered women syndrome in 1989. So the women had finally a defense that they could use in court. So I was very busy doing that. I was busy being a fitness trainer, a group trainer, personal trainer, dog trainer, hairdresser. I took advantage of everything that they had because if they wanted me, I'm expensive. They were going to pay for me.
Okay.
And so they did.
So a couple of things I want to point out here, and this does come up every now and then in my podcast with guests is, guys, it's badass to ask for help, right? It's badass to understand your worth and to use that, right? And what I'm loving about your story, Judy, is you did not let circumstances dictate your life moving forward.
Exactly.
So many of us struggle with that. Oh my God, this has happened. And, we just complain and complain and we blame others. Now, let's be very clear. You had every right to blame others because,
Sure.
all these things happened. But for the purpose of this conversation, I really want to highlight that badassery is a choice.
Absolutely.
It is a choice to
Yes.
get up each day and go, okay, God, how can I serve you today? How can I serve my purpose today? How can I be the best that I can be today? Despite being behind bars.
Right, right. And that's what I had to do. I had to get up each morning and think, okay, today I'm going to teach some drug addict woman how to clean her body up, love her body, and we're going to do one heck of a workout. I'm going to turn your body into something you're going to love, and you're not going to want to do anything to put into it that would make it bad because this is called blood, sweat, and tears. And that happened a lot. We cleaned up. There was several of us trainers eventually, and I was the head trainer of the BLAST program, which is Better Living Awareness Support Team. And we supported these women. We had classes from 8 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. Step aerobics, yoga, Pilates, Zumba, weight training, you name it, we had it. And so that was one way to help them. And then the other ways was starting programs for mothers and their children on visits to where they could get to have one-on-one visits without the prison setting environment. And it would be like it started out in a trailer where the moms could cook for their kids. They could play games with their kids. They could lay on the floor and wrestle with their kids or lay on the floor and watch movies with their kids and really get to have that one-on-one special time. And so I spent a lot of my time doing exactly that, starting Women Against Violence groups for battered women. to the point where they shipped me to Arizona for 4 years to begin with. 2 years after I was there, because I got to know the policies and procedures so well that I was not going to allow an officer to take advantage of me in any way sexual like he was doing other women without fighting back and doing something about it to stop it. And whenever I did, he was one of the good old boys, and they did not want me to break up that little ring they had. And so they said, you know what? You're a troublemaker. We're going to get rid of you. We're going to send you away from your family so you won't see them for a while. So they sent me to Arizona, but being the oldest of 8, my mother sent 4 of my siblings out there to live. So I still had family. So back at you.
Okay, Mama, I love that. I love
Yes.
that. There's so
Hmm.
much that you have accomplished in your time there, and I really just want to say thank you for all
Oh,
that you've touched. Some that are probably still there, maybe some have gotten out. I don't know much about the penal system in this,
yes.
but I do know that what you've
Thank you.
done is phenomenally important. Take us through, though, if you wouldn't mind, you're getting out because you're not there anymore. You got out. How did
Yes.
that come to pass?
Wow. Well, like I said, I went through 6 governors, and finally, the 7th governor, which is God's number of completion, 7 days it took to create the world, 7 governors it took to create my freedom. So and not only that, no governor ever does a clemency for anybody, especially a lifer that's been convicted of capital murder, his first year of his term. If they do any, they are done at the 12th hour of the last day of their term, which is usually 4-year terms or 4-year terms, 8 years. But this governor was bold and brave, and he was not going to let me sit there another day. And he came within 11 months in his first year. He came to the prison himself with his staff. No media. He did not want it to be about him or anybody else. He wanted it to be about me and my family. So he wanted that privacy for us. And he came that day to read me my commutation papers, to reduce my sentence to time served, immediate release. And 6 months later, I received a pardon. So I was totally exonerated. Yeah. And my sister had a long black stretch limo. She said she was going to get for me 20 years earlier if I ever came home. I said, it's not if, it's when.
Oh my God, I've got the shivers.
Yes, it was waiting for me outside the door. And another thing I want to point out too. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Jump in because can you share with our audience what does it really mean to get a pardon? I mean, Jesus, 36 years.
Yes, I know. I spent all my 30s, 40s, 50s, and most of my 60s. I was 68 when I was released. And I spent more in prison than I did in this world. So what it means to get a full pardon means all your rights are established. Of course, I was old enough for Social Security. So one thing I did get from my ex-husband, I was the first woman married to him for over 10 years, so I got to claim his Social Security. Yay! Oh, I'm sorry.
See,
Not.
you don't get back pay though, right? I mean,
Oh, don't underestimate me, sister.
oh, there's a story here.
OMG.
Tell us the story.
So whenever I saw that you could get back pay, I got a hold of Social Security office, and I said I would like to apply for my 6 months back pay for my Social Security. And so I said I received a full pardon. I am entitled to this. And they said, well, we don't know about that. We'll have to talk to our attorneys. And I said, I will be more than happy to email you my pardon papers and my commutation with a golden seal signed by our Secretary of State and the governor. And so I did, and they notified me, oh, probably about 3 weeks later, and said, yes, the attorney said I do get back pay. And so I got 6 months of my ex-husband's Social Security.
You are badass.
Told you so.
What are some of the things, though, that you learned? So 36 years incarcerated, more time behind bars than you lived as a free woman.
Yes,
You look back, though, what are some of the biggest things that you learned about yourself? Obviously, you're a badass, right? Don't mess with Judy. But
right.
let's go a little deeper than that.
Okay. So what I learned is I am worthy. I'm valuable. I love who I am today. I love the woman that I was created to be. And I did not. Whenever, if I could tell my 20-year-old self something, uh, then that I now know is that I am a good person. I am worthy of a good life. I am worthy to be treated right. And so what happened to me back then could not happen to me today. And I've learned to stand up for myself. I've learned to face my fears and do it anyways. I got past the fear of snakes, and
Oh,
I was determined to do that just to prove that fear did not have a hold on me. And I did it in prison in Arizona
there you go.
because there was the prison was in the desert. So there was always snakes crawling up into our stool system, into our sanitary system and getting in the cells. And they would come, through the fences and get in there. And so there was one um, Native American girl that was not afraid of snakes at all. So I asked her, I said, could you please teach me not to be afraid of snakes? She said, now, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, absolutely. It's a terrifying fear of mine, and I want to do it. So she taught me. And then before long, it was she and I that whenever snakes would get in the admin building or something, they would call us to go get them.
Wow. What a great what a great story, but also the parallels, right? Of facing,
Yeah.
I mean, what you're describing, well, let's be honest, I don't think most women consciously think, oh, I'll be afraid to get, arrested and charged for murder and put away to jail. It's so outside of the realm
Yes.
coverage.
I never would have thought.
Not-
Who would have thought that?
Who would have thought it? I would be remiss, and I know there's people that are listening that are going, for the love of God, what happened to the guy?
Yes, and that is not in the book. So that's a very good question. Thank you for asking it.
Well, before you answer that, though, let's talk about the book then.
Oh, yes, when the light finds us from a life sentence to a life transformed. And it's very beautiful. It's orange. I like bright colors. It's got beautiful flowers on it. And with those flowers is barbed wire that circles around it, representing prison. And I think it's a very powerful copy or cover. My writer and I had to fight tooth and nails to get this, but it happened. And you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or any bookstore, Target, everywhere. And I would love for people to read it. There's a lot of miracles in it because it wasn't the first contract that was put out on me, on us, because there was one put out on him and I both. So there's a lot of good information for women and anybody that happens to be in a dark place. Even for men. I've had men cry about this book because it reminded them so much of their mothers and what their mothers have gone through and are still going through. And they would just break down. And one was a director, a movie director, saying how powerful it was whenever he read it and how it touched him in real life.
So, did you write the book while you were in prison, or did the book come after?
No, it came out yeah. Whenever I was in prison, I didn't do interviews or talk about the case or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I watched The Secret on Oprah Winfrey when that book came out. And I thought, a vision board. I'm going to make me a vision board. So I did. I made a vision board out of the back of two legal pads. I mean, it was very generic and very elementary looking, but I taped it together and I would cut out words from magazines or newspapers. And I put that on there: commutation, time served, pardon, book, New York, movie. And all of that came true. My vision board came to life.
Wow.
And I still have that. I still have the vision board. I did it in 2006. And yeah, so I have a picture of it. It's still intact, and I brought it home with me. And I'm getting ready to make a new one for out here.
So, so good. Okay, so you wrote the book and you mentioned contract. You mentioned earlier that he had put a contract on you when you were in prison. Somebody put a contract on the both of you,
Mhm.
and obviously you thwarted that contract out on yourself.
Correct. I feel like I'm the cat of nine lives.
Yeah. It's
Yes,
powerful though, right? And
yes.
were you able to thwart it? And we don't need the details by any stretch, but what comes to my mind is, was that a was it a physical experience or did it start as a mental experience?
Which part?
Thwarting the contract on you. Like, what does that actually mean? Like,
Well, what? Oh gosh. Well, you know, it's mental experience because you have that fear. Oh, who's going to do it? When is it going to happen? How are they going to do it? You don't know. And so that's one reason we ended up in Alaska, because my co-defendant said he knew that we would be safer up there. But little did I know, because I knew so much about what had just happened, um, he took all my identity, anything, any connection I had with my family back in Missouri, he took it and would not let me contact any of my family. And so I just assumed that that he was going to kill me, because evidently killing is what he was used to doing, because it just didn't faze him about what happened. And so it was very devastating. It was painful. It was heartbreaking not to be in touch with my family, believing that I would never see them again. I didn't know what day it would be or how he would do it. So it wasn't only by the ones that put the contract out on him and I, it was also the fact that I knew he was probably going to kill me. I'm about 100% guaranteed that I would not return alive.
that's another whole story. I wanted to
Mhm.
bring it back to you're out, you've written the book. Where is he now? Because he got
I
part.
was going to come back to that too. Thank you. He passed away of COVID 2 years ago. Hmm.
Hmm. I want to say, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah. And it's so ironic because I had a caseworker in prison that always kept me informed of what he looked like and where he was, because I never trusted him. He had put a contract out on me before. I figured he would kill me in Alaska, which we were arrested before he could, and I think he would have. Um, but then we come back to Missouri and I fall right back into that same trap. Oh, I love you so much. They know, you didn't do the murder, so you're going to be fine. Just listen to me, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to have that happy life. Because my addiction isn't drug or alcohol. My addiction is love. So I always am a recovering codependent. I always have to watch the red flags. I always have to be careful, because love was my addiction.
So I'm curious, when you went to trial, did you
Mhm.
know who killed this person?
Yes. Could I testify to that? No.
Because you were co-defendants.
Thank you. Exactly.
Oh my God, I grew up watching Law and Order. What?
Yes, you did.
That's
Yes, you did.
sneaky bastard.
he was so good at what he did that he covered his tracks so well. Um, but there then like whenever he went to trial, you never hear of any defendant addressing their own jury. It's something that's very rare. He's the only one actually I've ever heard of being able to do that. And he was so suave and so smooth with women. And he had an all 12 women jury. So he had them convinced that I was this horrible black widow that manipulated him into being present and that he did not do anything.
Well, okay, so he never went to, he never served any time. He was found not guilty.
Correct.
Went on to,
Until about 4 months later, he was convicted of selling $250,000 kilo to an undercover FBI agent.
okay.
And his true colors kept showing, and that he did not get out of. So he went to federal prison, but usually for something that large, they would spend a lot of time for that kind of drugs. But he only spent 2 years. I know,
Yeah.
I know. I still don't know to this day why or how he got that down to that. But, and then I thought to myself, well, I wonder how the jury feels now, knowing that he was just arrested, this clean cut um, mortgage broker that had been in the mystery. Oh my gosh, now he's convicted of drugs? And he got acquitted of murder? Oh my gosh, was he really this person the whole time and we just got manipulated,
So I
you
have a question
know?
for you, because again, I don't know the penal system outside of Law and Order. But all joking aside, you are pardoned.
Mhm.
Was he ever tried? Was he found guilty for that crime?
For murder?
Yeah.
Well, he was acquitted, and you can't be
Oh, right.
charged twice for the
Right.
same
Right.
crime. Yeah, yeah,
All right. So he passed away from COVID, never being charged with or serving time for this particular offense that you served
correct,
for him for. Okay. How
correct.
did you how did you navigate that? Because I mean, just on your behalf, I want to scream.
Mhm. Because I turned that scream into joy. And I just did that by helping other women and seeing them grow. I helped them put their clemencies together. And some of those lifers, they got out before I did. But yet it was a joy to see them walk out to their families and to their friends and to their children. But there, a lot of the lifers, what they wanted was time served, immediate release, and a pardon. And the only one that got that was myself. So I didn't have to worry about a probe or parole or reporting to parole board to the parolee or parole officer. I didn't have to worry about walking the tight line, the tight rope when you get out. I was totally free. So what I got was double. I think that was God's reward for me for all those that I did help free, and I'm still working to help free lifers from prison.
Let's talk about that now because it's so beautiful that you are continuing to give and to serve those that are less fortunate or are whatever the circumstances are. So let's hear more about that.
Okay, so we are working on a Survivors Act as we speak here in Missouri with the Senate and the House of Representatives, and it's called Survivors Act, and it's to update the battered women syndrome. It's a law that was enacted in Oklahoma, so it passed and they enacted it, and it is they're using it to this day. And then it also just recently passed in Georgia. So there's a group out of New York that contacted me and they hired a big lobbyist here in Missouri because they pay attention to what laws are passed to decrease the population, the prison population. And they heard about this. So they take what passed in one state and try to get it passed in other states to help decrease population. And so they contacted me and we started working on that. And I got a senator involved to support it and some offenders to testify from behind bars at hearings on it. And so that's what they're working on right now.
Amazing.
Yes, it is.
Else that you want to share with our audience about what it is that you're doing and how can the audience help? Like what life is a team sport
Yes, it is.
and
Yes.
the ways that listeners can. And of course, everything will be in the show notes, folks. But what how else can we help?
Another way you can help is to buy the book. Leave a review on Amazon, please. And please tell all of your friends and family to do the same. I know a lot of women are buying it for their mother-in-laws and their sisters and everybody for Mother's Day, which I think is awesome. There's a lot of good things in there about parenting and about, whenever women are battered and abused, or if when anybody's in a dark, dark place and does not know how to get out, there's always hope, always. And you just have to have that light find you. And it's there. You just have to see it. Just see it.
What's some advice that you would give to women that are listening, or men for that matter, that on the surface they may say, okay, I understand that there's a light there, but I can't see it. And I don't see any way that I could ever possibly see it. What advice do you have for that person that's like, yeah, sounds good, I'm happy for you, but that's not for me. There's no way I could be free.
I would have to ask them, do you like the feeling that you have right now?
Mm.
Does that make you joyful? Does that make you smile? Does that make you shine? Well, of course not. Okay, you are the one that has the control to change this. Nobody else, you. You have to start the process. You hold on to something, take one step at a time, and believe in yourself that you can reach that goal. Create a vision board. Create one. Put your words on there. Look at them all the time. What is it you want your life to be like?
What a great question. What a
Yes.
great question. Because really, this is what I do for a living. I coach people, and obviously I host a podcast, but so many of us feel the what we don't want. And that's
Mhm.
what we focus on. I don't want to work here anymore. I don't want to be in
Yeah.
a relationship. I don't want to XYZ. But we don't always take the time to articulate what it is that you do want. So I love that you asked that. Like, what do you want your life to be?
Yeah.
You can dream it, you can be it.
Yes. And if you can see it, physically see it, not just visually see it with a vision, make yourself a vision board and put those words on there. Put pictures on there, what you want it to be. I put on there Anguilla to ride in a glass bottom boat. Do you know what I received the other day
What?
from somebody? I received a gift for 4 days paid, 4 days and nights on the island of Anguilla on a five-star restaurant or condo on the beach and a ride in a glass bottom boat. Another thing on my vision board that was came to fruition.
So another,
So,
let me just jump in here, guys. Another part of being a badass is being willing. I think earlier I said asking for help, but
mhm,
letting the universe know what you want.
yeah,
You can ask
words
for
have
help.
power.
Yeah.
God spoke the word and the earth was created. Speak what it is you want. Put it out there to the ethers, to the universe, whatever your God might be, you have a connection with them. So put it out there so you can see it, so everybody can see it. It didn't have to be elaborate or anything. Just cut some little words out and paste them on there. Let your kids help you. What do they want? Help them make a vision board. What they want their life to be.
As you're speaking that, I can't help but feel, well, I'm excited, but
Mhm.
I also recognize that hope, trust is it's such a beautiful gift. But it starts with us. We give ourselves the trust. We
Correct.
give ourselves the hope. We give ourselves the vision, the daydream,
Yes.
regardless of whether you're behind actual bars or you're,
Hmm.
mental bars that we put on ourselves. Because we are women can be caught in both places,
Correct.
without a doubt. What have you learned about, though, just to go a little bit on the side, not off topic, but just a little bit off to the side? I'm fascinated by what happens to women in groups like this. I work with women in groups that are very positive, and I'm your coach, and let's talk, and we're going to do some deep work. But what I'm feeling is that you were coaching in a way in a completely different setting, but it was just as powerful, if not more so. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts around how women are treated in the penal system, and what have you learned about their veracity or their wherewithal?
They're what?
I use the word wherewithal. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but just their, like, what have you learned about them in
Mhm.
general, their capabilities and their,
Well, I think the women that's incarcerated,
yeah,
that's you're referring to, they come in so beaten down and so not liking who they are. So they have to immediately start working on themselves. That's the first thing they have to do. And then find something about yourself that you love or you want to change about yourself that you know is doable. Like you want to lose 5 pounds. Okay, that's doable. Let's do it. And then pretty soon you're going to start feeling a little bit better. You're going to start feeling a little bit more motivated. You can see it. Or you want to change your hairstyle, change it. Look a little different. Find something that you can hold on to and build from there.
yeah.
And you always want the women to feel safe. You want them to feel like it's a safe space. They can voice however they feel, like badassery. You just let us say whatever we need to say, however we want to say it. And that's what, because so many women are stifled. They passive. They don't ask questions. I never asked my ex-husband questions and stuff. And I took that into this relationship that got me where I was at. Um, I should have asked questions and I didn't. But now I ask probably too many questions. But oh well, sorry to be you. But yeah, that's what I would tell women, just to find something about you that you like and start building on it. Become the person you want to be. Become the person you want your daughter to be. How do you want your daughter to be?
We
You
have
want her to be big, bad, and powerful, or you want her to be passive and beat on and have no say in the world? You don't want that for her. But why would you want it for you?
everything starts from us, right? And it's
Yes,
a common theme in coaching is like, look at, you can't control anybody else.
right.
Only thing you can control is your reactions and your thoughts. And
And nobody's responsible for your happiness except you.
that's a tough one for a lot of people to recognize,
It is.
sort of, especially when they're in a difficult position, right? In a tough
Sure.
spot. It's really hard to wrap their head around that. I really liked and want to call out the importance of doing what you can with what you have, right?
Oh, yes. I
So I
like
love that.
that.
Like, what can you do? I say this all the time to my clients. Okay, I get that, but what can you do?
Yep.
No matter how small you think it is. Because the minute we take action for ourselves, whether it's a new haircut, a new lipstick, or
Yep.
just taking a timeout from the kids, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that action is, the minute you take action, it dissipates the fear. It can dissipate the fear and the anger, right? And we can,
Right.
to your point, okay, I did this. I,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted something and I got it. So love
And
that.
it gives you more power.
Yeah,
You
totally.
just you just got some power.
Yeah.
You made this decision to make this change, and so now you can take another step and another step and another step till you be the person you want to be.
Are there many, have you found in your travels that there are many women in authority in the prison system? I know nothing. Just
There is women, yes, there are. As a matter of fact, one of them was a warden, and she was asked by our governor to give her opinion of my release. She said, I would release her in a heartbeat. She needs to go home, and gave a great recommendation, a great letter. Yes. She said, we want her to go home.
wow. How did you adjust to life on the outside?
Well, I've adjusted very well. I have to say I have adjusted well. There was a lot of things I didn't understand about how you flush your stools out here, how you wash your hands in the bathrooms. There's all these magical things that you have to wave, and I thought, what the heck? Just to go pee? And I still, everybody says, well, what's your favorite restaurant? Oh, I don't know. I haven't tried them all yet. So you guys have so many out here. And the vehicles look like an airplane, what do you call it? Cockpit.
Oh, the dashboard. Yeah.
Yes, the dashboard looked like a cockpit. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to push any buttons. I don't know if it's going to eject me. I don't know if it's going to throw the door open. I don't know. So it took a lot with technology too, because lifers usually are not allowed to do computer classes because they think we're never going home. So there's no need for them to teach it to
Oh,
us.
Judy, that is heartbreaking.
I know.
That is heartbreaking.
I knew nothing about technology.
So I gotta ask then, as I picture you coming out as a free woman, did that by chance kick up any long buried resentment, anger, pain, frustration when you finally made it out?
It did kick up frustration because I thought, oh my gosh, I'll never catch up. This is so hard, but I've had excellent mentors through Catholic Charities where I work. They've taught me so much. And then, of course, my daughter, my grandchildren. I have 9 grandchildren and 9 great grandchildren. Yes, yes. I have birthdays all the time with all of them. They keep me busy at trampoline houses, fun runs, and all kinds of stuff. But yes, technology was really tough.
How did you navigate that frustration?
I was determined to learn it and get past it.
What
I
a
thought,
surprise, folks. Really. That doesn't fit. I'm going to figure this shit out, she said.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna figure it out, and I do. And of course, as soon as I figure it out, then it's changed, into something else the next day. So
Well, we all
yeah,
feel that way. You're not alone in that for sure. You're really not
yeah,
alone in that.
yes.
Judy, we are so blessed that you fought the fight day after day after day.
Thank you.
I can't imagine, but what I can imagine is that it takes one voice,
Right.
right? It really it does start with us, folks.
Yes.
If you see something that you is not right, speak up
Correct.
because people are listening. And
Yes.
the more of us that do that, the better off the world will be, right? Just my little
Yes.
get off my soapbox there. But it takes
Sure.
courage to stand up for what's right, especially in the face of such adversity as in 36 years of wrongful imprisonment. So check out the show notes, folks. Get the book. Get curious. And another thing I wanted to touch on was I loved how you shared this idea of getting curious. Like, what do you want more of in your life? What do you want your
Mhm.
life to look like? Folks, if you want to be more badass, take a moment to ask yourself some great questions and just get really curious about what fills your cup, what doesn't. And if something doesn't light you up, especially if it is a detriment to your well being, mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual, ask for help because you are not alone, right? It's part of being
Yes.
badass is being able to ask for help. Judy, is there anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with today before we sign off?
Well, they're also more than welcome to go to my website at www.judyannhenderson.com. And you'll see pictures, family pictures, you'll see other, things that I've done, and you'll learn more about me. And please just remember to love yourself,
So
because you can't love others fully like you should until you do truly love you.
great words to live by. Thank you again
Thank
for
you.
joining me today, Judy, and for sharing your
Thank
story
you.
with all of us folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Art of Badassery. My name is Mahara. Special shout out and thank you to my guest today, Judy Henderson. Go buy your book, check the show notes. You won't regret it. If this episode lit a fire in your soul or smacked you with some needed truth, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share it with another badass who's ready to rise. And if you're done second guessing your intuition and want some clarity that cuts through the noise, book your free intuitive strategy reading with me now. No fluff, I promise, no BS, just soul deep insight to help you move forward with power. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and for the love of God, stay badass.